The Byte Club podcast is a collaboration between Beth, Curran, and Akshaya Parthasarathy.
The Byte Club podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land we record on. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging.
Welcome to Byte Club, a tech podcast crafted by the girls for the girls. Our mission to elevate, educate, and explore the exciting world of technology.
So tune in and remember, the first rule of Byte Club is to talk about Byte Club. Hi Akshaya, how are you going?
Hey Beth, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm really good. Welcome to episode 0 of the Byte Club podcast. I'm so excited to be here and to be here with you. So what we're going to do in this episode, this will be a little bit of a shorter episode, but we just, for everyone listening, want to get you guys familiar with us, who we are, and also give a little bit of an overview of what this podcast is going to look like, what you can expect, what you're going to hear, all of that good stuff. So I'll start. I'll just introduce myself quickly. My name is Beth, and my background is actually in physics and astrophysics specifically. So I studied astrophysics at uni, really loved it. But while I was there, I kind of fell in love with the power of coding and data and all the amazing things that you can do with that. And so I kind of leaned more into the coding side of my degree as I got towards the end of my studies. I then did an internship in spatial analysis with a really great company, and I really loved it. So after that, I started looking for tech work, and I ended up in a data consultancy, which is actually where I met Akshaya, so the place that we both work now. And yeah, I really love that. I really love using data to kind of make sense out of just information on a broader scale. I'm really passionate about science communication. I love kind of making science feel more accessible and understandable, because science can be a really kind of intimidating, big, scary thing. People think maybe it's not for them, but really it's for everyone. So I'm really passionate about that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much me. What about you, Akshaya? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. That was a really wonderful intro, Beth. So, hi everyone. My name is Akshaya. And as Beth mentioned, I'm also working as a data specialist in the data consultancy. And we met over our first lunch, was it? Yeah, good old lunch
Yeah,
buddies.
probably.
Yeah. My background is in computer science and engineering, and I've also worked as a software engineer for a couple of years before making the pivot to data. As a teenager, I think I've always liked problem solving, especially with code. It's just something that made sense to me, and it was also pretty exciting. I've also got a wide range of interests that go from storytelling to visualization. So I think it's pretty cool, and also a privilege to kind of find a profession that inculcates all of my interests along with the skills, because that's what I think the data field offers right now, where you're almost always trying to take a crack at something, get something to work in order to tell a story of numbers or raw data
Yeah.
points. And as you mentioned, make it look like it all makes sense. Yeah, and that's my journey so far. Podcasting, however, is a fairly new concept to me. Not just fairly new, very new. My only exposure would probably be those Dateline, the murder episodes, as well as Only Murders in the Building, which I hope there will be less of in this podcast.
Yeah, probably we're aiming for
But
0 murders on this podcast.
who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows, But tell me, Beth, this isn't your first experience with podcasting, though, is it?
Yeah. So not my first rodeo. While I was at uni, I helped co-host a podcast that our physics and astronomy department ran. So basically, that podcast was it's called Stardust MQ. You can probably dig it up somewhere. And we basically interviewed different academics about their research. So I really loved being a part of that. And actually, while I was at uni, while I was doing that, I kind of came up with the idea for a podcast about women in STEM. So I wanted to talk about different women's stories in science, and because that had been so helpful to me and so inspiring to me as a young woman in science. And so I kind of came up with this whole podcast, but I was just really busy and it just kind of never got off the ground. And I was like, oh, that's whatever. I'll just leave that alone. And so then a few months ago when Akshaya came and was like, I've got this idea for a podcast and I need a co-host. She was like, it's about women in tech. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
It's
Because
great. Yeah.
I had, yeah, it's perfect because I'd been scheming about this podcast, but it just kind of never came through. So really excited to be here doing this with you. And yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. So Akshaya, do you want to tell us a bit about what is Byte Club?
So yeah, what is Byte Club? Obviously a word play on Fight Club, if nobody's caught on that yet. But instead of focusing on exclusivity as portrayed in the movie, we're here to build a community. And how we want to do that is via our episodes. So yeah, Beth, I'm glad you
Mm,
brought up how you did want to start up a podcast because you wanted to highlight women in tech and women in STEM, especially because you were
mm,
also a young woman in STEM who needed the role models, and that exactly
mm,
is the issue that we're trying to tackle because it's a fairly known fact that women are outnumbered in STEM, and even today we only make up just about 13% of the workforce. So when you
yeah, that's
picture
crazy.
engineering or science or technology, for young women, it's very easy to just imagine, hard hats and lab coats. And most often that picture is associated with men. Um,
Mm,
and it's very tough to picture yourself a career, especially when you don't have active role models to help you get that goal. But the
mm,
reality of this is quite untrue because there have been so many under-recognized and underrated heroes who have been women who have pioneered so much exciting technology that we just didn't know about it. And these
mm,
were this whole aspect of under recognition and just not giving them enough credit has deprived us of the amazing role models that we could have always had. So through Byte
yeah.
Club, we want to be focusing and highlighting those women in tech pioneers of tech and science whose groundbreaking inventions have opened up doors for other women in STEM and also have had lasting effects throughout these years. Technology that's relevant even for today. We're also
Mm,
going to be expanding and doing a bit more than storytelling, which is we're going to be breaking down the complicated concepts that they would have invented into bite-sized haha information
uh, I
which
get
can
you.
be which can be easily digested. I don't know about you, Beth, but
Mhm,
I personally think that when I'm teaching a concept, that's when I also learn better.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So I think education is definitely another aspect, and we're also going to be diving and exploring that technology, especially seeing its use case in today's world or even possible untapped potential that there could be. So that's our
Mm,
motto, which people have heard in the disclaimer already, which is to elevate, educate, and explore. That's pretty much sums up what Fight Club is all about. The other
amazing.
aspect that I'm very, very excited about, and this is a concept that Beth came up with on just one of our few brainstorming meetings. Do you want to give us a little bit of, just an explanation on what that is, Beth?
Yeah, yeah. Sure thing. So I thought it would be fun, because you probably all heard, the first rule of Fight Club is don't talk about Fight Club. I thought it would be fun to do like each episode will have a different rule of Byte Club. And you will have already heard what the first rule of Byte Club is in the intro, but I'm going to explain it a little bit more in our first episode. But basically, each
Mm-hmm.
week we want to have a different rule, and it might be something from one of our lives, like our actual, week to week experiences working in tech. It might be something we've learned from the women that we're researching. It might be something we've heard that we just thought was fun or helpful. And we'll take turns each week bringing in a new rule of Byte Club. So stay tuned for those, and we'll end up having a big list. Um, that should be really fun.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that kind of just on the aspect of building community that Akshaya said, this podcast is for women who maybe are in their early tech careers, who are wanting to shift into tech, even who've been in tech for a long time and just want to get some inspiration and some kind of solidarity. People who want to
Mm-hmm.
get little snapshots of the tech world, because I don't know about you, but I can find it really overwhelming reading tech
Oh
news,
yeah,
because it's just like they throw
definitely.
around
Yeah.
all this language, and yeah, it's like I'm pretty new to tech, like I don't know all these things, so we're kind of hoping to build up a bit of a tech vocabulary one story at a time. And then you can have lots of fun facts to share in your office. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, hopefully in the future, we want to expand into kind of doing interviews with other people in tech, people in different stages of their career, different fields, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely stay tuned, keep your ears out for that, all of those things coming up in the future. Yeah, so to listen to Byte Club podcasts, you can check us out on Podbean and Spotify, and we'll probably be on other platforms in the future, but those are the ones that we have set up for now. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Byte Club podcast. And if you'd like to hear about a certain like concept or a certain scientist or woman that you've heard about, send us an email. So you can contact us either directly through the Instagram, or you can contact us at byteclubpodcast.gmail.com. Was there anything else you wanted to say, Akshaya, before we sign off?
No, that's about it. Thanks for sharing all of our socials. That's about it, guys. That's all we have for you for episode 0. But stay tuned for episode 1. I'm very excited for the new concepts that's gonna come up. Do give us your
It's
feedback.
Gonna be great.
Give us, it's gonna be really interesting, and can't wait to talk to you guys all over again.
All right, wonderful. Thanks, Akshaya.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
See everyone. Bye, guys.